Because it's not just about painting and things for me. It's about everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And the linkages and things.
And that's all I want to ask you about. I mean, we talk more about that. I'm not sure if
go ahead, you go
we
ahead.
started already.
Children go to school and learn well. Otherwise, later on in life, you won't catch real hell. Without an education in your head, your whole life will be pure misery. You're better off dead. For there is simply no room in this whole wide world for an uneducated little boy or girl. Don't allow idle companions to lead you astray. To earn tomorrow, you got to learn today.
The first element that we will be exploring is art. To do so, we interviewed Sundiata, born as Winston Ian Stewart, an artist based in Trinidad and Tobago. From an early age, his artistic talents were manifested, and even though he's mainly self-taught, he developed his skill by working with many senior artists. He works in a variety of methods, including drawing, painting, sculpture, costume design, and even building. He offers his art and himself in totality to the expression and progression of humanity.
I would say when I became very conscious of the social situations around 1970, that my art took on a different level in that where I was trying to interpret things through skill art, what to see, what to feel. I realize now, hey, this could be a vehicle for what I'm dealing with. And around 1970s, we in the Caribbean were becoming very conscious of our identity and our affiliation with where we should be and where we're going. That means our Caribbeanness, be aware of our blackness and the importance of how we go deal with it in this new kind of independent arena. And we had to be dealing with the shackles of imperialism and colonialism nearby.
Right.
So around that time I realized that my art was a nice avenue to express myself, challenge myself, and project myself and my situations and feelings and things through that. Yeah. So at that time it was very useful. It was a vehicle expression in that sense.
I like that you said that when you became conscious and you kind of found your way.
Conscious and political because in the 70s we were part of this whole Caribbean independent movement. You know, I was involved in that from young.
Yeah.
In the 1960s in North America, they start challenging the system after the Vietnam War. And a lot of international activism grew then, not like now. That was a long time ago. You had in Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, South Africa, they started the freedom wars. They started the hippie movement in Los Angeles. All that thing was connected. Black Power movement started in '68 with Stokely Carmichael from Trinidad, the Black Panthers. Then you had Cuba infiltrating with socialism through the Caribbean. Yeah, people moving away from colonialism was a straight order, and there was a lot of physical stuff going on. But we were part of, some revolutionary groups and things. You had them in Grenada, you had them in Cuba, you had them in Namibia. So we were linked up with a lot of stuff. Even in Trinidad in 1971, the 21st of April, we had a mini revolution here. I don't know if you ever heard about it.
No.
1970.
No. A mini revolution.
Yeah.
But what place would you say, or I guess what I want to say power did having the arts support bring to that revolution? Because usually when you
see, propaganda. You have to understand, in 1970s, you didn't have the internet, you didn't have avenues for communication and expression, visually, content. all those avenues were controlled by the imperial people. Film,
the
television,
system.
and influences were controlled that. So the visual artist was one avenue where you could be revolutionary in expression.
Yeah.
And that has happened a lot in the 40s and the 50s with the abstract artists start pushing different views about things. But behind that art too was philosophy, challenging the status quo and thing. You know, so. And then when you start seeing that now, you have to understand now it's not just visual arts, there's music, there's poetry, there's writing.
It's the net, as you spoke about,
Right,
the network of
writing.
art.
And it's an unconscious movement. So my art was developed in that wave of stuff. But remember, there were things going parallel with that. You know, you had the music that was emerging, you had the pre-rap music, the soul music, the activist music, you had the writers, James Baldwin. I didn't want to get going, but
but there was a lot happening at the time.
yeah,
that
there
was a movement.
But one
as you
thing
said.
then too, it was all, and it was challenging the redundant status quo that wanted to stay stable. And
because they have the system for a reason,
no,
if not
and
reasons.
it was
For reasons,
yeah,
you know.
It was capitalist system that was meant to enjoy decades of profit, and that people kept the same way. As he was stating, you know, one of your concepts is to get people to take charge of their own.
Yeah.
You know. Now, fortunately, I'm very good at that.
No, I think that works well for you, and I think that's something that.
Because what I did is that when I was emerging, now remember I come from out of society. I didn't come up like, you know, I was lucky to be on the fringe of society, so it gave me a chance to look at society without society drilling me straight. In my way now to deal with that, I had to be creative, and I had to conserve my technology.
From on the fringes, yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you do is your technology, you know, your ideas, and you have to know. And then I had to decide, like, I go in parallel or around society with my thing. But then what I do now, when I reach a certain stage of strength, I come back into society. I left school at 14 years old, right? Formal education. I had to. I had to go work.
Okay.
So by 20, you know, I come back into formal education. I step right back into it. Now all the time I was educating myself in my way there. But I say coming back into formal education because I have some tools in formal education and society that I could utilize.
Correct. What I like and what I've discovered through landscaping especially is that tools were designed to help man.
Yeah.
And the tools that you use determine the quality of the work that you produce.
Yeah. Hey, this is the space. This is the busy space.
The busy space. The world of work here.
Yeah, man. Well, you look from the walls, you will see. No, a disclaimer. I mean, sorry.
No, but as what I like the most about this one and everything with Isle Vibes is authentic Caribbean lifestyle.
Well,
so it's not putting on a look or peeling up or have anything in any particular way.
Nah. I just get it. You see, because one thing I want people to understand that hey, I get a little thing there. I get a little. You alright? You good?
You happy now?
I fixed that.
You happy
Check that
now?
now. I fixed that 2 days ago.
Really?
I say I have to give him a little, at least a little. Temperature good.
There's is grand.
Now right away you realize that I work a lot with the female form.
Yeah.
I don't play. I work a lot with the female form.
Has that always been something you gravitated towards?
Well, it's a little deeper than that. In that I hate to sound like a lecturer, but if you look at the Caribbean, and notice I say Trinidad, the Caribbean. If you look at the diaspora, and we people who have crossed the Middle Passage, that's an interesting term we're using. We cross the Middle Passage. Mightn't do it physically, but we did it spiritually and thing. In that the Caribbean roots have been very what we call matrifocal, you know. Caribbean, very matrifocal in that if you had to give a definition of a Caribbean is a very strong feminine principle. It's very strong. If you're looking at organic, it's a principle. Right. Now I don't want to get into heavy kind of African retention thing like Orisha and
No, but
things, right?
I like that you went
I don't
there.
want to get too deep.
I like that you went there.
Because then we go start
history
learn
lesson.
some things about me that I mightn't want people to know.
No, I like that because with the Middle Passage, what they did was strip Africans of the males of their households,
Of course.
the leaders,
Of course,
and the
of
strength.
course,
So
of
you
course.
had the minds and the
Of course.
bodies.
Of course, of course. But that's a technical thing that was planned long time ago. Now, to get back to the simple term though, is that in the Caribbean historically, they had a great master plan of making sure that the African males were not given power of parent, political or anything. He was just going to be a stud and keep him as a boy. That's the notion of a boy.
Entertained.
He irresponsible. Once he works hard and then he becomes a buffoon and entertainer. Right? So he cannot be a father to his children. You will let the woman do that. Because you don't want him to feel the strength of fatherhood or to get organized or to be political.
The strength of father.
And you're seeing the vestiges of that still going on today.
Yeah.
You go down the road, you see a lot of guys, they have 3 kids for the girls there on the block, but he's still competing with his sons to be cool and a little boy, and he don't understand shit. So basically what you find throughout the Caribbean is that a lot of the households have been developed by females mainly, and that the female principle is very strong in the family. The grandmother, the
I lived that.
auntie.
Yes.
No, that is good,
I
but that is still something we have to deal with. We can't go down next generations with that, because a lot of the young men coming up do not understand the voice of a male parent, the tone, the energies, the manliness
the
that
example.
need to survive and go and deal with them people out there, you know.
No, because
Right.
you're required to deal with them in a certain way.
Okay, you have to
women
deal
can't
with
deal
them.
with those things
Yeah.
in a way. Because
they have done a very good thing, I emasculate, but unfortunately the female now had to take over that role. But it's commendable she did, but still I tell a lot of women, you don't boast about that. I'm a single mother, I did this, no, but it shouldn't be that way still. That's my take on it. I still think that but then too, I honor the female principle in my work a lot, because personally I've had a lot of depth and thing dealing with the females in my life and thing.
because of that very thing.
Not only that, but generally so.
But I grew up in a household that was that. My mother was and is the head of, not the head of the household, but you understand what I'm saying? Same with my grandmother. And in growing in that, in learning yourself as a man, and learning yourself as a contributor to a household, there's almost a cap, because there's a level that you don't enter because of that standard, because of that.
But that has to be challenged now, because we are losing a lot of our black men and black potential. You know, because remember, they are still seeking things. Although they don't seem to seek anything, they are. You know. So it's all interesting, you know. So
It is.
and it's happening, it has to happen, you know. Because even although I'm here and I'm 72, you know, you might think that, you know, I just on the fringe thing, you know, say that Sundiata talk shit. Right there, relaxing, the pool there, he cool, fool. But I'm aware that a very popular young 26-year-old rapper got shot last week. That's very popular with the youths. in the States by one of the stupid friends, Quavo or whoever.
Yeah,
What I'm trying to tell you is that you're aware of all of that.
Yeah.
And it's all within the culture, stupidness. I mean, they are friends here, but, you know, it's all the culture and all the lifestyle that you have to project.
And maintain.
And maintain.
Yeah.
I go into Amsterdam for a holiday, I realize the same fuck up there, the same problem with the youths. I go into London and Brixton, is the same shit. I travel a lot. I tell you right now. The world is something that I'm not afraid of. I'll be here cool soon. Next minute, I down in Cyprus. Or I down in Kauai in Hawaii. You know, I don't say much. I just move. I done walking down in Tuscany and Italy, just like here. And, you know, I do no barriers. And you're still seeing the same thing going on, you know? You know, with the diaspora and thing.
It's deeper than geography.
Yeah, it's
It's psychology. It's
Yeah.
philosophy.
Hey,
As I said.
there's a good bear.
Lefty.
Yeah. Listen,
But I know you are a man of taste and a man of the art, so I know you understand good art.
listen up. All these nice things, these people thief these things, you know.
And rebrand through
All
a
the
new
brewing,
name
all the good brewing alcohol, the tea from Egypt, you know.
from Egypt.
Yeah. There's a lot of things, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
As you said something just now about seeking, and you spoke about
Watch some heavy words they're using there, you know. Seeking, you know.
seeking it, and that's why it struck me. It struck me
Okay,
because it's an interesting word to use.
when you get a certain stage in life, you would say age. I wouldn't say age. Because you could be a young man and you have I wouldn't say an old spirit, but an advanced spirit. You could be an old man and you're fucking childish. And not childlike. Childlike is different to childish. Childlike is you see him with the eyes of freshness and your wonderment.
And curiosity.
I like to be called childlike. Childish is fucking childish, right? But you know, there comes a time you will seek, because you know right away that, you know, you're starting to see things connect. Even in a negative way, you're seeing things connect. And you start seeking, some more than others. Our life is like that. The arts, the people in creativity, I prefer to say the creatives seek. And, you know, and sometimes it's your role to do that. You have to seek and make connections and keep that thing going on. Because the creative vein is probably the only true link that will measure things and deal with it. So you have to be in touch with that whole creative wave. Whether it's like the visual arts, music, cuisine, culture, philosophy, you know, get in that, you know. And the only thing about the true seeker is that once you start seeking now, you're going to be realizing that you're in a kind of a serious and delicate and frightening path.
Very, very much so.
I telling you. I don't want to get beyond this level of conversation. Because
we here to talk now.
No, it's not talk.
You can talk, I can talk, I like to talk.
But there's something called revealing. But when you start talking, seeking, you're going to a different level now.
Yeah.
You're going beyond this corporeal level.
Well, we could keep it at this level, but I like what you said about it being a frightening path and a frightening realization.
Because when you know, I don't know if you reach the level where you could come out and look at yourself there and see what you're doing and see what you really are, rather than what you think you are and what you think you're saying and what you think how people perceive you. You know. But the seeking thing is very interesting, because once you really get on a seeking path, there's no turning back. That's why I'm trying to say.
Correct is right. The way I see seeking is in a forest, and you are literally a trailblazer. There's no way forward.
Now, do you think like this, how does a guy like you become a seeker? And then, hello, you still have a family, you still have rules and society. It makes it difficult now, because you have to be seeking, but at the same time you still have to be following certain stringent things to sustain.
You have to be seeking, but also sustain.
This is the thing. This is the dreadful thing about when you're in the creative sector, you know, it's going to be tough. You know, how do you sustain it? Sustainability. You know.
But I want to ask a question on the seeking, and then we get to sustainability. So the question on seeking, you as an artist, what would you say it is you seek? Or are you seeking, or have you already found?
Okay, look.
Or come to realization as an artist?
Right. You see, the third thing you say makes sense to me. When you're seeking and you searching, you don't be staying at the side and checking yourself to say, what am I seeking? If you know what you're seeking, you will go for it, get close to it. You won't seek it. You know, people who seeking things don't necessarily have any idea what they're seeking, you know.
Yeah.
It's just this whole drive thing, right. But here where you say realization, when you come to the realization, when you start realizing, hey, I'm in this, I'm doing this way, then that's when it gets interesting. Yeah, that's when it gets interesting. Then you sit down, you analyze, well, why am I doing this? Why? And then, is this my role or this? How am I sustaining this now? Because I'm a very firm believer in reality, you know, physical reality,
present
things that going on, things being done. I have a great respect for doing. I think a lot of people, I think this generation, clicking and
thinking.
I
think we are more.
But I don't think that they understand the importance of doing it. And this we have to preserve. You know, we have to preserve. Sometimes you just have to be quiet and just watch at the manual laborers and watch what they do. Sometimes I go by the sea and watch the fellas set up the nets, pull it, watch that whole rhythm. Sometimes I just go in the bush and go among the planters in the hills and watch them a whole day what they do and understand. Sometimes I, like this morning already, I out on the road, you know. You know that. 6 miles on the road.
I told them that.
6 miles on the road all day. But when I running back home, I looking at all the people going to work. This body setting up for the day. There's a lot of shit going on, you know. And then I have to say what that relates to me, you know. And you have to understand that people in the creative process are almost invisible, you know. Society only deals with you when you appear to be successful, or you're on top, or you make super noise or thing. In other words, if it works, but when you're in that, you don't get much help from society.
No, you don't. You seek alone.
Yeah, you seek
alone. I think that's probably the way it has to be, you know.
Yeah, but you have to use all technology available and everything available to get your shit done, you know.
What would you say is lost when we move from physical art to digital art?
Okay, that's a very technical term you asked there, and this is it. Innovation, invention, things happening.
I like you put on the button.
Yeah, that is man's situation, right? 2,000 years ago, the Amerindians in the Caribbean used to preserve meat to sustain them. They had no refrigeration, they had nothing. There's a word called pepper pot. Pepper pot is when you cook meats, all kind of meat together a long time, man. But it's an ingredient they put in there called cassareep, which comes from cassava, which is really liquid arsenic. And it has the power to preserve meats. That is technology. So what I'm saying is that when the Amerindians, or original people, do that, that helped preserve them for a long time. Now, digital stuff come up. In 1970, I remember at UE and KFIL, computer science was developing, you know, early. All in the 50s and 40s after the Second World War, they start the computer development, you know. That was going on, if you check it out. And they were using it for war. Innovations just come from war efforts, you know. Right. So the thing is this, that now the digital situation come up to be a tool and not just a recording device. is that I think it is valid that the young practitioners deal with that. What would be important is the content, not the manifestation of how the digital art is done, but is, you know, what you look for, because we're going to see who can manipulate skills and visual quality. But what we're going to see now is like the content, you know, how the individual,
themselves use it for.
So I have to accept that it has to have a place. Although I prefer the old manual, you know?
Physical,
So I wouldn't. My only criticism, not positively but questionably, would be: would it facilitate the manifestation becomes too easy? Become a believer in, I wouldn't say over hard work, but I believe in
that process, that toiling.
Process, yes. I wouldn't like to use the word toiling, but then too I have to open my mind and say that, you know, if this is, so I think I like that. I think yes, with cautious involvement, that means a measure what you're doing and measure, and you ain't rushing to complete because you have your tools quick. I think with cautious, tentative activity, yes. I think digital art has a place in the world, and it will be manifested by the true talents of the practitioners. That's where, and
you have to strike a blend, a balance.
And then we also have to get people studying it, so there could be people challenging it, criticizing it. So it mustn't be just one little narrow avenue for people to express it. But yeah, and I think definitely I'm positive that the practitioners going to deal with it.
Okay.
So we have to support it. That's the way I see it.
I like that.
You have to support it. You know what I mean?
So your preference is physical. Is there any?
Not necessary, no. I mean, that is my grounding. But I would still venture in digital art too, and see my take on it.
Okay. What I was going to ask is there any form that we could see amongst us here that is your? I know favorite is not a word that many creators like to use. But is there any form or style or channel that you prefer? You have a liking for?
Well, I like to work. I like to draw.
Okay.
I like immediate sketches. I like to confront the human. I love drawing people and things. I mean, daily, constantly. There come sometimes I will settle down and then compose something and work laborious on it. So I'll show you what I normally enjoy doing. Movement, you know. I like simple, suggestive things, you know. You might detect some sensuality, and I think that's part of it too. You know.
But as what I asked, like, as a man, how do you manage that?
Easy. I love it. I celebrate it. But it's about 40 years now I've been dealing with the nude. Come on, I'm like a doctor, you know. But anything beyond that, I won't tell you.
Yeah.
That's between me. That's between me and the muse.
True.
Don't worry. I'm not bothered much because, you know, and I've been married 40 years to the same woman, 42 years.
42 years.
Yeah. So she doesn't have a problem with it. Because it won't be her problem. But I really like working with the female form. There's a nice study here.
And these was done?
I don't even know. I don't know. Through time and space.
Okay.
Listen, it's thousands of stuff I have, you know. But all those stay, you know. I'm one of those people like that. People like my work. You know, I don't have to go into that aspect, but that's another area. Right now we're just talking about the work. We're not talking about the industry and all
No, that's
you know.
That's a thing in itself. I find it necessary but unfortunate that
No, it is necessary.
the workers have to deal with an industry that does
The
not.
who?
The people who are involved in the work.
Yeah.
I wonder. I say workers because the people who are you know working in the arts.
No, but it's a good question you ask, because let's be practical, right? When we move from just doing art to art as, hello, I'm living by this thing. There's something perceived out there called the art market. It's in jokey, you know. You know, that fella selling paintings for 12,000 US. Peter Doig and those. You know, what I'm telling you is that's another area, and that's serious.
It's a whole next space.
Yeah. Don't worry. I could deal with that.
Well, I mean, you have dealt with that. You continue to deal with that.
Yeah, locally I can handle it. Also internationally, I
Have you done exhibits?
Oh yeah. What I mean done?
Yeah.
I have exhibits all over the place during time, but I don't. I just let that be done.
That brings me to a question to ask. When it comes to the term achievement.
I don't know what you mean by that.
That's why I'm interested to hear.
Okay, as far as an artist or creative, and I keep coming back to creative, achievement is basically when you could live doing what you love and what you intend to do. Right? That's one concern that I would say, you know, that's simple. So if you reach a stage where you could do that, that's good.
Yeah.
Now I think I've been able to do that since 1976.
Yeah, and that's why I asked the question, because
since 1976 I decide, pow, I done with this shit. I gonna do this. Right? And how much years that since 1976? How much is that?
74, 24, and about 46.
Yeah, about 46 years. Right. Since 46, I doing my thing, my thing, my thing. Right.
Well, and I like that, because I think as a creative, just to be able to be in that space and fulfill that desire that you have, that in itself is achievement.
Yeah. But one theme I will tell anybody who venture into any creative space, and I keep moving away from painting and drawing, is go brave. And another thing, you cut your clothes to suit your size, because when you going into this stuff, you can't have a plan at the time parallel. Or I have to have the 2 children and the dog at the same time, and I have to, you know, when you're going into these kind of things where you going into your own thing on your own, it's like whoa. You're going in totally and don't expect anything. You know, it's rough. You know, so everything had to be lined up. Your technology had to be lined up. Your budgeting have to be lined up. You know,
it ain't a cheap it ain't a cheap path.
Right. But then what you find is when you're going through this thing, you find that there's only few people on this path, you know. Because short stops. People look for short-term success, and once they get at the thing, they have it.
Correct.
And they stop.
Correct.
But when you keep moving on, then you realize, hey, there are much people on that. And that is when now you demand your recompense. You demand what is to come back to you to sustain yourself. No, I'm good at that.
I like that. Because of what you have worked, because of how far you have worked.
You demand, yeah.